Hello and welcome to our ICC Bootcamp webinar for February 14th. It was actually supposed to be done on February 12th, but it has been a challenging week to say the least. On Wednesday, we had the major transformer that transmits the electricity for our subdivision blow up. And so I guess they overburdened it with a tennis tournament. We have a tennis club about 3 blocks away from us, and it's quite sizable, and they put lights on at night. And unfortunately, the next day, we were without power. I guess it blew out. And around 7 o'clock at night, we got it back, figuring, okay, everything's great. Next day, boom, same thing again. So we lost Wednesday and Thursday. Then on Friday, I had virtually no internet service. I was borrowing internet service from my neighbor on a little tiny laptop hanging out the bedroom window. So it's been a tough week in terms of getting the things done that I wanted to get done. So I am behind, but I am here working away Saturday morning trying to get things caught up. But we've had a phenomenal week. I mean, this is a victorious week for the Internet Catalog Club, for Bright Star Work Center, and for all of those folks that have been putting their shoulder to the wheel. It has been fantastic. So let me tell you some of the great things that are happening. Yesterday, we had a meeting. I think it was set for 3 o'clock my time, Atlantic, and we had our first board meeting of the newly incorporated LLC called La Strada. It's based in Pennsylvania, and Coria, our active member in Arkansas, brought this attorney to us, and Scott is just so powerful and so excited about what we're doing. You could just hear the excitement in his voice when we were having this board meeting. So everything is done. I mean, the government, the state of Pennsylvania has given us our registration. The La Strada is up and operational, and we are creating our very first promissory note, first of the week, for over $700 million. Wow. And so that first promissory note is going to be buying the largest ranch in Texas. I'm just absolutely flabbergasted that the vision that Mr. B has for La Strada and for this beautiful ranch that is available for sale. And he's quite confident that we will purchase that property with a promissory note. And so it's moving forward. So that's the very first one. Now, I can't tell you. Well, I guess I could show you with my expression on my face. If I could grin to my ears, I would be doing that. But my mouth doesn't stretch quite that wide. Anyway, it is just so exciting. You know why it's so exciting? Because the concept of sharing just makes it so much better. When you look at becoming a partner with House, all right, House Services, it's bringing the attorney to the table. Well, there are attorneys out there. We have more good news, which I'll share with you just a moment. But the important thing to understand is that the attorney gets 20% of the partnership. House gets 20%, Fetus gets 20%, USPIS gets 20%, and the member gets 20%. Now, you're capable of doing this all by yourself, but in the case of Coria, he decided that he would rather partner with Eddie and Gary. And so, yes, we are taking less each, but the member is sharing the 20%, so we're each getting a little over 6%. And you got to understand, even 6% of over 700 million, that's what your reward is. Now, that is on every promissory note that's ever issued by the company that you set up, bringing an attorney to the table. Now, if that don't light your fire, your wood's wet. I mean, go try it out. Get yourself on board. I mean, wow. Let me just get my calculator here. You see, I got a big one because I'm so poor at math. But let me just tell you what 6% of this amount is. And that's not all of it, of course. That's 45,180,000 for the amount of the ranch cost. That's just Couria's portion. Now he shares that with Eddie and Gary. So we each get 45 million. Did I say 45,000? These big numbers. Oh, wow. I'm telling you, that's just one. That's just one promissory note. And how long are we going to be around doing this? Well, I think we can pass this down generationally. So I got to tell you, I'd be out there banging on every attorney's door until I find one that will come and work with us. I mean, that's the best thing you could be doing for yourself right now. Getting your $5,000 for your administrative fee and getting your attorney to assist you to get the promissory notes that you're going to be issued through La Strada and get it done. Geez, you got BVK, you got Zcash, you got chips. You could use the LHP retail and become wealthier than your wildest dreams. Get to work. It's so exciting. All right, number 2. Okay, another attorney. Wow. Kenny, congratulations. You've done an awesome job. Kenny G from Oregon has put together a working relationship with a new attorney, and he did so much of it by himself. Now, he's been coached by myself, of course, but he actually had the first interview with John, the attorney in California. He then arranged to set up a meeting with Eddie, and that went so well, with the next step being the meeting with Ben. Well, it didn't have to happen. Last evening, John said he had a few more questions, and Kenny answered those questions. And he's ready to set up the LLC next week. Wow, that's another one for Bright Star Work Center. Because again, Kenny said, a third of a pie is better than no pie at all. And so again, he's going to work with Gary and Eddie with Bright Star and create that partnership. Now, you don't have to do that, but he felt it was worthwhile because we have to come up with $250 million to be a member partner. So we're going to help him with that, as we did with Curia, and we're going to help with the setup costs of the LLC because it's the member's responsibility. Now, some of you are going to be intelligent enough to figure out how to negotiate with the attorney to have them pay for it, but that's up to you. That's your decision. Now, another amazing thing that's happened is that we've had a great breakthrough with a bank here in the Dominican Republic. Amazingly enough, and again, kudos to my newfound friend, Eric. Eric has done an awesome job. He's an abogado, which is an attorney. That's the Spanish name for attorney. Anyway, he was here a week ago, Monday, and we went through all the protocols. He got super excited, and he says, well, I'm going to stay overnight, and let's go see a couple of banks, which we did. And we had a lukewarm conversation with a gatekeeper who has never followed through, even though I did. And then we had this horrible relationship. His contact in Santiago said, go see this guy, which we did. And the guy was very polite, very nice, and he was way above his pay grade, he said. So go back over to reception, ask for this guy, and he'll help you out. Well, this guy that we were introduced to, I'm telling you, if he worked at my bank and I owned this bank, he'd be fired. He was terrible. He was ignorant. He was rude. And he was not open-minded to anything that we had to say about making profits for the bank. Now, wait a second. Isn't that what a bank's in business for? To make profits? Well, he said, no, we wouldn't be interested in promissory notes because we don't have promissory notes. I said, excuse me? You don't do mortgages? Well, of course we do promissory, but that's not the same. Well, of course it's the same. I didn't argue with him. You can't fix stupid. This man was stupid. So anyway, we both came out and licked our wounds and said, what an a-hole. We just couldn't believe this guy. So I guess what happened is Eric went home and because he's so excited, he said, I'm not going to stop with that. I'm going to pick up my phone and I'm going to call Victor, the gentleman that introduced us to the first gentleman that got us in touch with the second gentleman. And anyway, Tuesday I was in Santiago talking to Victor. We had a brief lunch, and Eric did his best to translate everything. And I was talking about a $10 million promissory note, providing the funding of $20 million to allow us to go ahead and purchase 4 homes, a hotel, few vehicles, and some furniture, and the stuff that we just wanted to do a test. And he was open-minded, and he said, "Yeah, but I really don't understand it." And I said, "Well, I can arrange for a bank officer from FIDES to talk with you." And so then he said, "I'd be open to that." So that was great. So I came home, immediately called Eddie. Eddie got Ben on the phone, and Ben said, "I'll do the call." Well, you know what, all these darn time zones, I thought they were both in the same time zone. So I screwed up. It was actually 12:30 for Eddie, 1:30 for Ben, and it just screwed up. Ben couldn't be on the call. I couldn't be on the call because the darn power was off, and I had no internet because the power's off. So I had seen that, and I had immediately sent an email to Eddie at first thing in the morning. "If I'm not online, please make sure you coordinate this call, get it done," which he did. And unfortunately, Ben couldn't be on, but Eddie did it. And Eddie didn't talk about anything that we had talked about. And yet, here's what happened. This is amazing. I'm telling you. The guy said to him, Victor said to him, everybody comes to the Dominican Republic with their scams. And we're not interested in scams. We want valid information, and we want know your customer information. This is a real deal, and we're not paying any money up front. So we went on to give Eddie a couple of examples about how somebody came and asked for $40,000 up front to give them $20 or $30 million. And he said, "No, we're not giving any money up front." And he says, "Well, we don't want any money up front. We just want to show you how to make a lot of money, and we'll share the profits." Fair enough? Fair enough. So anyway, that was a brief conversation, rubber stamped. We're ready to go. Ben gets in touch with Eddie, says, "Well, how'd it go?" And Eddie says, "Well, here's what we've got to do. We've got to send information in Spanish." And so Eddie says, "Well, I'll put it together in English, and Eric will translate it." Ben says, "No, no, no. I will write the letter in Spanish, and we'll have Eric just check for grammar." So that's happening this weekend. So that may be our very first Dominican Republic bank. Isn't that exciting? Never give up. I mean, I've been thrown out of just about every bank. There's only 3 banks left that I haven't been thrown out in the Dominican Republic. And guess what? The one government bank that I thought would not be interested is interested. Wow, isn't that exciting? You see, you just never give up. All the tough times we've had, all the turndowns we've had, all the negative comments we've had. Kafui, who cares? Victory is ours. All right, it still gets better. It's just amazing that we've got now 2 attorneys on board, and lo and behold, I have administration send me an email saying there's an individual who is requesting an ICC membership. Would you take care of it? Well, I often get admin, where people find the website, the Chip Stash Corner, where it says contact the number below if you'd like more information about how to become involved. Well, they send that out to work centers, and occasionally I get one. Well, I got one. And so I called this gentleman, and he told me that he has a friend that has lots of BVK. And I said, "Well, fantastic. If you want me to do the work, then you're going to come and get an ICC number with Bright Star Work Center and come and work with us here." So he said, "Well, you need to talk to my friend." So he gives me his name and number, and I phone him up. And this gentleman happens to have his own work center. All right. Now, yes, he's got lots of BVK, and but he's like a lot of people, just doesn't understand the protocols, and it just doesn't sink in. And he's very busy with other things because he has a big financial investment group. All right, very well connected. Well, I thought, this is going to be a challenge because I've got you folks to take care of. Why would I need to be taking care of another work center that has the same opportunities and the same connections? In fact, probably better connections to Mr. B than I have, because this particular work center has known Ben for, 12 years. So he's got me beat by twice. And so anyway, the long and the short of it, this particular work center leader and I have had 3 really good conversations. And he's on side. We had a meeting with 6 of his leaders, and they seem to be on side. Again, on Thursday when the power went off, it went off right in the middle of a training call that I was doing for these 6 leaders. And so we're going to do part 2 on Monday or Tuesday, which is great. And I just got a note from the first individual who put me in touch with this work center leader, said he's on board. Well, he had already told me that on Friday, that he wants to work through Bright Star Work Center. So they're going to all get issued Bright Star Work Center memberships so that they can provide a little bit of flavor to Eddie and Gary for teaching them how to do these protocols. Then they'll go back to their work center and take over. And I'm super excited about that. I want to help everybody, and that's 6 more quality people out there telling the good news that we have the best digital currency on planet Earth. There's no other digital currency that doubles its value, and there's no other digital currency that is completely backed by assets. I mean, it's just fantastic. And so it's just, we've got to get the word out. Bitcoin's doing a phenomenal job of making digital currencies aware. And now the banks are on board, and they're going to be moving forward with their digital currencies through apps on smartphones. I'm telling you, it's the wave of the future. You need to be really studying this stuff and getting on board with it. You're missing out on a fortune by not taking action, learning these protocols, and getting yourself involved. Get that $5,000, get your admin fee in. I mean, that's just the price of the shovel to dig your gold mine. It's your gold mine, not mine. You make the money. It's your BVK, it's your Zcash, it's your chips that you're going to convert. But you got to do the work. Otherwise, it's classed as an investment, and we get shut down by the SEC. We're never going to let that happen. Do you think I'm going to let that gold mine of mine slip away? That 6% of over 700 million? And that's just one promissory note. You could have the same thing working for you if you work. It's that simple. Wow. Okay, so anyway, long and the short of it, as I'm talking with this work center leader, he says, I have some very good banking connections in Africa. And I have attorneys in Africa. And I said, wow, let's get on them. So this coming week, we're going to talk to those attorneys, and we're going to talk to that bank. Isn't that exciting? And so he gets a chance to bring a bank and an attorney to the table in Africa. And that'll give us 2 facilities in Africa. Now, there's a lot of people in South Africa that are, I don't know, sleeping. I don't know. But I mean, they got a gold mine, and they're worried about the price of the shovel. Okay, so let's keep moving on. What do we got here? Got that covered. Oh, yeah, and then I get an email from my good buddy down under. Warren says, I'm going to visit Pakatoa Island and take lots of pictures on Monday. So that's fantastic. We're going to buy Pakatoa Island. Isn't that amazing? We're going to have an island resort in the North Island of New Zealand called Pakatoa Island. Go look it up. Pakatoa, Pakatoa Island. $40 million, Australian dollars. I don't know what that's worth in USD, but who cares? Now they've kind of registered it as a historic site, ecological island, and so there's a whole list of new rules that weren't there a couple of years ago when I was looking at it, but that's fine. We want to make it the best island on the planet, and it's going to have a beautiful resort that you and I can visit, and we can meet other ICC members, and we can go to conferences that are put on by the Internet Catalog Club, Bright Star Work Center, and the boys and girls of Australia and New Zealand. It's just going to be so exciting, 2015. Wow. Going to have Pakatoa Island, and we're going to purchase that with a promissory note from La Strada. Isn't that amazing? It's going to happen real soon. And we got lots of farms that we're looking at in Australia. We've got a big milk processing facility that we're looking at to wrap up 5 dairy farms. And I mean, we are literally going to have commerce done with Zcash and chips from start to finish. This is that year that's going to have it. You think about it. We get a farm on board. We get the milk processing on board. We get the milk retailers on board. And you can buy all of those products with Zcash. And it's going to happen that way for other retailers, clothing stores, big department stores. They're all going to come on board this year. Why? Because I'm going to make sure it happens. And you can help me do that. Because you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody that's in a leadership position in one of those stores, retailers, wholesalers that comes on board. Now, there's some more interesting and fantastic news coming up a little later in the webinar. Let's keep on going on board here. All right, so I think we can get into the actual updates. Okay, so let's go ahead and share screen. Let's see if I can get that going. Now, if it doesn't work, I'll give you the URL. You can go look it up, but it should work. What am I doing here? Google Hangouts. There we go. Click that. Start screen share. Present to everyone. That's you. Okay. Now, the first one we're going to look at is why accept a Rahino promissory note as payment. And you find that in the chips-corner.com website at the bottom of the red block section under Rahino. Now, this is brand new, and this put together a huge deal for plasticized railway ties. And you'll see that in a few minutes in the webinar. But it's just amazing that this just sums it all up. And it makes it very easy for people who are sellers to consider accepting the promissory note. So let's go ahead and go through it together. Rahino LLC promissory notes are collateralized by the Internet Catalog Club accounts with Zcash with equal value to the face amount of the note. Zcash qualifies as what the USA IRS defines as a convertible virtual currency, and USA federal courts have ruled to be money. Wow, there it is. Big, bold, red font, right in your face. Go look it up. There it is. IRS advisory notice. There it is. Funds, Black's Law Dictionary. Those are 2 links that people can go and check out. And when they see, well, geez, wait a second, if the IRS is calling it convertible virtual currency and I got to pay taxes on it, it must be real money. And it is. That's what you're missing. Keep reviewing this until you start to believe that it's real money, because until you believe it's real money, you won't be successful in making your presentations. All right. However, in its advisory, the IRS correctly makes a distinction between being usable to make payments in the USA and legal tender in the USA and in other jurisdictions, as that term only applies to the means of exchange that have specifically been sanctioned by jurisdictional law, such as Federal Reserve notes. Okay, so we come back down to looking at the documents. What is money? What is a dollar? Means of exchange versus the dollar, which is a measurement of value. There we go, and it's in silver. Go look it up. What is a dollar? And now a Rahino note is issued as per the United Nations UNCITRAL Convention. Now a Rahino note and a La Strada note and the soon-to-be California LLC note, whatever company we set up there, will all be under the United Nations UNCITRAL Convention. And there's the link to go see all about it. Let me just take a quick sip here. UNCITRAL has reportedly been officially accepted by 88 nations, including the USA, with USA law specifically being the law that regulates our promissory notes. So Rahino, these documents may not be changed, but just know that every note that we create from every company that we create will be under the same guidelines. Excuse me. Thus, the logical conclusion would be that our promissory notes, regulated by USA law and issued as per UNCITRAL, is legal tender, which it is. Now, we've already got a situation that occurred last week, whereby a $500,000 property in Oregon, which had borrowed money from a Canadian corporation, not a lending institution, but a Canadian corporation, had loaned $500,000 to this property. And there was a lien, obviously, on the property until the $500,000 was paid off. Well, they presented the promissory note to the Canadian corporation. The Canadian corporation, within 3 days, had released the lien against the property, and the property is now free and clear. So there is international commerce where a promissory note was issued and accepted by a Canadian company which was liening a property in the United States. I'm telling you, folks, this is the real deal. Get on board. In short, by Zcash being wrapped within a Rahino note, it is not only legal tender in the USA, but in all nations that are UNCITRAL signatories, Canada being one. Zcash has been extensively used in commerce for almost 20 years, and there are several ways to convert Zcash into legal tender currencies. So just understand that we are the oldest digital currency on planet Earth. Well, maybe not in the sense of it first came out as a token, and there might have been bus tokens, there might have been carnival tokens before then, but in terms of being meaningful, I'm talking big amounts being used. I'm sure that Zcash is the biggest player on the planet. So wrapping Zcash into a promissory note issued by one of the LLCs that are created provides immediate conversion, since a promissory note qualifies as legal tender. Now, you got to know that if you have a check and I pay Kenny $1,000 because he loaned me $1,000, I pay him back with a check, and I say, Kenny, here's what I owe you. So he takes the check and he signs the back. But then wait a second, his friend Bob comes to him and says, "Oh, I see you got a check there. How much is it for? Remember, you owe me $1,000." And he says, "Yeah, you're right. Okay, here, let me just sign the back of it," which he has already done because he was going to take it to the bank. But he gives it over to Bob, and Bob says, "Thank you so much." Well, Bob's wife gets a chance to take a look at it, and she says, "We've promised we would donate to the church the $1,000 for our tithe." And so he says, "Okay, well, here's the $1,000 I just got from Kenny. He's repaid us. Now we're going to take that $1,000 and you sign it over and give it to the church." So the church takes it, and they look at it and say, "Well, it's a check. It's got 2 signatures on it. Yeah, okay, we'll sign it. And we'll take it to the bank." And sure enough, the bank takes it. That goes on all the time. Just as our hotel story talks about the $300 being moved around to all those different places. Well, a promissory note can be done the same way. And, you don't even have to get it signed. As long as you're the holder of it, you move forward with it. And that's what's happening with a $380 million promissory note in Mexico right now. How they're doing it, what they're doing with it, it's none of my business. It's a private contract, but I just know that there is a $380 million promissory note that's being used as a promissory note, direct as legal tender in the country of Mexico for a huge resort development. Okay. All right. So a promissory note issued by one of our LLCs is immediately collectible by transfer of ownership of the Internet Catalog Club account that holds the Zcash. So that's all you have to do to transfer it. You go to the ICC membership spot on the website, you log in, and you change the information in there. And change the password, pass it on to the new people. Ta-da! Alternatively, a Rahino note is collectible in any currency by a lawful beneficiary requesting that the Rahino or any LLC promissory note provide documentary funds that are guaranteed payable backed by large USD values deposited with major world banking institutions. So we can use the documentary funds. How documentary funds may be used as a means to exchange a Rahino or promissory note from any of the LLCs for other currencies may be reviewed in How to Exchange a Rahino promissory note for Other Currencies. There's 2 ways of doing it. All right, they can go ahead and take over the account. They take the Zcash, they bring it through LHP Retail, they pay the $5,000, and the admin fee allows them to get the Zcash. So if it's a $700 million promissory note, they're going to get Zcash for $350 million, When they use that to bring it to their financial institution, they rewrap it in a promissory note. They're also going to get the chips for $700 million. They doubled their money. Now, that's a very smart thing to do. But they may say, that's a lot of work and I don't understand it and I don't want to do it. Okay, well then let's take it to the bank and let's say, hey, Mr. Banker, you need to take this on deposit. And that's where we use the documentary funds and we go to trade, and the trade profits pay off the promissory notes. So continuing on, red block section says, however, it's recommended that conversion to other currencies not be undertaken until and unless it's necessary for other business requirements. So why bother going through all that if you can do like the Mexican contractor engineering firm is doing and just use the note? I mean, just understand that a brand new $100 bill that comes out of the Federal Reserve printing presses, it'll be passed around for how many years before it ever gets back to the bank? I don't know. It may never get back. It might just be passed on, passed on, passed on. All right? And that's exactly what a promissory note can be done, because it is a note, just as the Federal Reserve note is a note. Just a big one, not a little one, a $700 million one. Now, as per USA IRS regulations, since our LLC issued promissory notes are collectible by transferring ownership of the Zcash account, and taxation of convertible virtual currency is deferred until conversion into other currencies or use in a future exchange takes place. To hold the note without converting may provide significant tax advantages. Now, we're not tax attorneys, so you got to go check it out with your tax attorney, but it could provide significant tax advantages by just passing around the note. Additionally, if the lawful beneficiary is a financial institution, acceptance without conversion of the LLC promissory notes may provide significant advantages over acceptance of other legal tender because of regulatory laws restricting the use of deposits. While a note based on property, convertible virtual currency, may provide significantly greater leverage capability for a financial institution. They can go to the Fed and they can borrow 5 times value on that note. So if that $700 million note goes to the bank, they can go to the Federal Reserve with that note and get 5 times the 700 million. So 700 million, I've got my calculator up, can you see it? Times 5. That would give them $3.5 billion for the bank capitalization. Are you starting to get the picture here? We can help banks, we can help attorneys, we can help our communities, we can help our governments. We, the key word is we, you and me. We got to do it. Nobody else is going to do it. We've got to get out there and make this a reality for everybody who will listen. Now, remember, you just can't fix stupid, and there's a lot of stupid people out there. I'm telling you. I mean, that banker was one of them. Okay, so we're going to move on now to, we covered why accept. Now, we've got LHP Wholesale. All right, there's 2 new products in LHP Wholesale. And you see, it's being worked on by several work centers that are out there that are on side. We have in the Employee Gold info under LHP Wholesale, we now have LHP Packaged Meats. Now, this is a organization in Canada that came to the table, accepted a $250 million promissory note. Well, Mr. B, being the intelligent genius that he is, said, well, let's create LHP Packaged Meats. And so now you can use LHP Packaged Meats. So let's say you're a restaurateur and you want to have something that you understand, which is meat, and you want to take your $2,000 and turn it into $12,000. Well, remember, this is a product that makes you feel comfortable. I talked to some people yesterday in a training session about historical software. We were laughing about it. I mean, isn't this absolutely insane? Total Soft historical software, it's obsolete. All right, it's back from 1995. Obsolete, but we got a ton of it somewhere stuck away in a warehouse. It's there. It's real. We're going to charge you $2,000 for it. Why would I buy obsolete software for $2,000 because we're going to turn around and we're going to buy it back and pay a $6,000 value in Zcash. And when you use the Zcash, you get $6,000 in chips and you get $12,000. It is not an investment. It is a commercial transaction. We have bought and sold and bought and sold. All right. The important thing to understand, it is a movement of real product. So if the SEC comes and says, oh, that's a phony investment, you're just kind of covering up. Well, come on down to the warehouse and we'll show you the software that we moved from this side of the room across the yellow line in the center of the room over to the other side. Then they bought it back and moved it across the warehouse to the other side. Now, I saw a video, and I'm going to find it because it just came to me when I was doing this presentation yesterday with one of our new members, that they actually did this in a video overviewing gold bars in a London repository. And they actually did move the gold bars from one side of the room across the room to the other side, and then a few hours later, they moved it back to the other side of the room. And that was a commercial transaction. We're doing the same thing, folks. Get this into your head. It'll set you free. The other funny thing is we have historical videos. All right, these were designed for LHP way back in 1995. The challenge is they're all VHS. All right, do you have a VHS recorder in your house? I sure don't. All right, so obsolete again. So you may not feel comfortable buying and selling historical software, historical videos, but we do have stuff that you may feel comfortable in doing a transaction with, and that's coffee. So you can spend $2,000 on some coffee, and you buy it, and we immediately buy it back, move it across the room, move it back, the bags of coffee. Why? Because we actually have coffee in El Salvador that we own. What about sand? Well, you're in the construction business. I don't really feel comfortable about using coffee as a product that I would buy and sell in construction, but I do use sand. All right, well, then let's use sand. And we got buckets full of sand. All right, we got property in Idaho with gazillions of tons of sand. So do we have it? Yes, we do. Is it a legal commercial transaction? Absolutely. All right, LHP, oil and gas derivative products. Do we have them on stock? Yes, we do. Now, the latest and greatest is LHP packaged meats. $250 million worth of packaged meats available for buy and sell in Canada. Last but not least, on Wednesday, a confirmed deal was put in place for plastic-coated railroad ties. I sure don't need any, do you? That's not the point. The point is that you may be in the railway business and you feel comfortable showing on your books a purchase of new railway ties. Well, you're going to buy them and then immediately they'll be sold back to the people that you bought them from. You can do that all day long. Do you understand? That 2,000 will turn into 12,000. So then you take your 12,000 that you just have converted into USD, you come back and you do it again. So now you got 12,000 and you multiply that by 6. Now you got 72,000 and you go do it again. You go through the conversion process. 72,000 times 6 is 432,000 on the next go round. Now this might take 2 months, 3 months to do. I just don't know. We've never done it. But now we're at 432,000. Let's say that's 8 months into the process with 2 months of each, times 6 again. That puts it at 2.592 million times 6. That brings it up to 15,552,000 times 6. There's 93 million. So from a $2,000 capital outlay, in maybe a year, year and a half, you could turn it into $93 million buying and selling railway ties back and forth between yourself and the club's protocol. Now, it says here, multiple orders for railway ties, up to 100,000 may be placed at one time. Packaged meat, up to 100,000. So you can start times 2,000 times 100,000. So if you're in the meat business and you want to really expand your ability, you take the 100,000 times 2,000, and you can take $2 billion. All right, and put your $2 billion in. Pretty darn exciting. What can be done? Now, what good is it if you're buying and selling this stuff and you're actually in the meat business? How many restaurants are out there buying chicken, pork, and beef, and what other meats they buy? Snake and alligator, and who knows what's being purchased that we're eating. The fact is that a lot of meat is bought and sold, and we have a better way of doing that, which now takes us to another new protocol, and we go to retail LHP to make that happen. So at retail LHP, you're going to go to Employee Gold. You'll click on Retail LHP, and you'll see last week we went over the Regino LLC special terms and conditions, and that really laid out the guidelines that you as the member have to teach the new member what it is. We can't leave anybody hanging on this. All right, we got to show them from start to finish exactly what they need to do, and we got to coach them how to do it. Now we have, click here for more information on acquiring LHP retail without automatic resell. Now that's super exciting, because here's what it will do. Now we'll click on that link, and up pops this link, and it says here, acquiring LHP retail without automatic resell. Low cost, high value products may be acquired at retail cost without automatic resell by any member of the Internet Catalog Club. New twist, super exciting. You can get a membership from Bright Star Work Center on credit. Ain't getting a free membership for me. When you're wealthy, you'll pay me for it. All right, pay me for it in Zcash and chips, that's fine. But anyway, to make LHP retail purchase without automatic resell, a buyer must deposit the funds that are to be paid into a certificate of deposit with a bank that is acceptable to House Services Inc. Well, how do I do that? Well, think about it. Let's just say you're McDonald's. I don't know how much McDonald's buys in meat on an annual basis, but let's just say it's $10 million. Okay. Now they don't spend $10 million one time. They schedule and buy probably either weekly or monthly or whatever schedule they've got, and they spread it over that $10 million purchasing over a year, and they can very easily see the trend, because of computers, as to what their buying needs might be next month. It's called memo accounting. I used to do it when I was in the music business. I had to forecast in advance how many pianos, how many organs, how many guitars, how many sets of drums, how many amplifiers that I was going to buy from Yamaha, because they could only make so many. All right, they had to have the raw materials in place, and they needed a projection. You say, well, how can you forecast what you're going to sell when you don't know what you're going to sell? It's in the future. Well, you can, and I was very accurate. I got to be able to do it plus or minus 10%. Now, if it was over 10%, I had to buy it. If it was under, that was okay. But the point is that that's what you can do. You can learn how to do this based on history. And yeah, there is a big trend right now where McDonald's is losing business. People don't have expendable money to buy a $5 hamburger that's made out of cardboard that won't deteriorate. I mean, can you believe that? You can put a McDonald's hamburger on the shelf for 5 years and it'll still be there. Bugs won't touch it, and mold won't touch it. Amazing. Anyway, the buyer must arrange for licensed professional traders that are contracted with House Services to undertake electronic non-depletion, non-risk trading using the CD as a basis. So can they do that? Of course we've already got them. They just got to negotiate. All right, they negotiate with Bright Star Work Center to do that. And so let's just say it's $10 million a year. They go to the bank, because obviously they've got a track record and the bank knows who they are. And they say, hey, Mr. Banker, I want to borrow $5 million and I want to buy one of your CDs. So the little banker starts rubbing his hands furiously, almost creating a fire, and says, wow, $5 million on deposit in a CD, and I get to charge him 6% interest, and he's only going to make 3% interest on the CD. That's a 3% net profit to me. I'm in. So the banker goes ahead, issues the $5 million CD. Well, after trading costs are taken out, I'm sorry. If the CD is not sufficient value for independent trading, a buyer may negotiate through licensed professional contracted with house services to have the CD lodged into an account with another value sufficient for trading taking place. So that may have to be negotiated, but the CD will have a QSIP and ISIN number issued to it. Now, we're not borrowing money from the bank directly, but the purchaser is, right? The buyer is. Now, the point is that he's going to need $10 million of meat for the year. He's got a $5 million CD starting to earn profit. After trading costs are taken out, profits will be distributed under the direction of Howe Services Inc., with 50% of the profits being used to pay for the LHP retail that's being purchased. So that $5 million promissory note, the $5 million CD trade deal, the retail that they purchased to get the $5 million, that's going to be covered. Now, 10% will be transferred to House Services for administration fee. So 10% of $5 million. And the remaining 40% will be divided equally between the buyer and the entity selling the LHP retail. Now, think about that. Let's just see on $5 billion times 0.2, that's $1 million. All right, so they make $1 million profit for doing this. That's pretty darn exciting for anybody buying that much meat, wouldn't you agree? Now, here's the neat thing. They needed $10 million. Well, they got the $5 million plus $1 million profit. After the LHP payment has been fully generated, another purchase contract may be arranged using the same CD. So we'll just keep it there. And guess what? They get their next $5 million. They got their $10 million covered. And they can stop the trading, or they can continue to trade forever and ever. They'll make more money doing this than they'll ever make selling hamburgers with no risk. Absolutely none. How many businesses that are selling meat need to hear that story? How many railroads that are buying railway ties need to hear that story? How many construction companies that are buying sand need to hear that story? Are you getting my picture? We can do this with any product or service they're buying. These are examples. You bring me a company that's buying widgets and they want to buy $50 million worth of widgets, they could do the exact same thing. No risk. They put the money in their own bank. They may already have the money. They don't even need to go and borrow the money. What better way to do it is put it into a CD, get the QSIP and ISIN numbers, bring it to trade, and they get their product for free for the whole year, and they get 20% profit on top. Who makes a 20% net profit in the 21st century at this present time? Very, 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 very few companies are doing that right now. Yet we can show every company how to do it, but we have to show them how to do it. So what an awesome opportunity we have here. Hopefully you've seen all these slides, and if you haven't, you'll be able to see them on the recording, of course. But I'll get this posted probably within the next hour, and we'll be able to take a look at it. Let me go ahead and find what I'm looking for here. Google Hangouts, ta-da. And stop that presenting. There I am. Okay, I'm back. All right, so I hope you're getting excited. Major victories are occurring every day of the week. People are seeing this, and I'm talking big, 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 big players. You and I are just little guys and gals. But that doesn't mean the big people don't understand this. They're already doing this. We show them a better way to do it. So don't be afraid. Remember the power that you have using the 6 degrees of separation. Here's the importance of that. Korea is a very shy person. Not gregarious like I am, okay? He's very soft-spoken, very slow, deliberate in his speech, very intelligent man, but he's just not out there banging the pot like I am, okay? Trying to make a lot of noise. And so I said to him, look, don't worry about that. Just go out and talk to everybody you know and say, I need your help. Can you find me an attorney that's got an open mind? Now, that's maybe a little harder than you think to find an attorney with an open mind, as some of our Australian buddies are finding out, but never give up, because here's what happened. Curry went out and asked a few of his closest contacts, and they found Scott. And Scott was in another state. Never met him before. Now they're become good friends. In fact, I got to tell you, I think I'm going to become a real good friend with Scott, because he's going to be the first person to make a signature on that promissory note for $700 million. Now, was that worth it, Curry? To do what you did? To network, not net loaf, and find that situation? Well, it goes on again. My good buddy Kenny, I just not having any success here in Oregon. I said, it doesn't matter where it is, just find somebody. Network with all your contacts. So he contacts another member. The other member introduces us to John. Now, that's darn exciting. And so Kenny's feeling a little sheepish. Well, the other members should get a piece of the action. I said, well, we'll pay him a referral fee. Did he do any work? He gave you a name. Well, I mean, he could have the same opportunity. He could have got off his duff. He could have said, Gary, I've got this attorney. Would you do the call with me? Would you set it up with Ben? Would you set it up with Eddie? He did none of that. Does he deserve 6%? I certainly don't think so. Does he deserve a pat on the back? Absolutely. Does he deserve, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000 when we've got it? Sure. Maybe he'll do it then. He'll go out and do it for himself. This is called networking, folks. You have to take control. You have to do the work and follow through. Curry has done it. Kenny's done it. I'm doing it personally. I'm not even having the success that Curry and Kenny have had. Do you understand that? So don't look at me, I can't do it because, you are so smooth and you can talk so well, Gary. That bull crap has nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with my skill sets. It has everything to do with doing it yourself and talking to people who are open-minded. And they'll see it. These guys saw it. Boom. When I heard John talking, and again, I couldn't believe the exuberance. He had his paralegal on the call, and she was blown away with it. And the next thing you know, they didn't even need to speak to Ben. They were in. There are people out there right now waiting to hear this message, and you can do it. Great success. God bless you all. Thanks for being here with me. Bye for now.